Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an impromptu video from a very sunny Bournemouth. Windy but sunny. There are some clouds in the sky, but I won't bore you with the obvious on that one because I really just wanted to do a video just to mention a couple of points and also an announcement or two. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's been having an enjoyable weekend hitherto. I have, up to now, it's been quite a quiet one, to be honest. I've been feeling okay, a bit up, a bit down, usual thing, nothing really to write home about. So on that front, I can't complain, and if I could, it wouldn't change anything anyway. Just a couple of things I wanted to bring you. I don't know if you can hear the music in the background that's coming from yonder, but there's a song at the moment blurting out of the speakers of a pub called Three Lions, and it's in reference to the English national football team, who of course are playing this evening in the 2024 European Championships. I do believe that they are playing Serbia. 8 o'clock kickoff. From a town called Gelsenkirchen in Germany. I've been there actually. I went there when I was a strong avid follower of football back in 2006 when England played Portugal in the World Cup quarterfinals, and England got knocked out by way of a penalty shootout. Anybody who knows their football knows that that is quite the norm. Speaking of football, while I'm on that topic, there's been actually some sad news surrounding one or two footballers, and particularly sad because, well, they're quite frankly too young to have passed away. Now, without boring everybody with my personal history and background, I played football for many years, and I also followed football for many years very, very strongly. I mean, I still keep an eye on it now, but I'm not as much into it now as I used to be, not by a long shot. But one thing I can definitely categorically say is that it certainly was not the norm that players were suddenly announced over the news to have died suddenly. And I'll use those words consciously, died suddenly, quite literally. And this is just what's happened. So a couple of days ago, well, yesterday I do believe, in fact, came the announcement that 54-year-old Kevin Campbell died suddenly. Now that is quite young. I'm 51 and I certainly don't feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door, as it were. 54 is absolutely no age, especially for somebody who has had the odd illness in the past, just like many of us had. But nevertheless, it is a very sudden announcement, and the football world in general are very saddened by it. I happen to know about him a little bit more because he used to actually play for a club that I did support for many years called Everton, which, for those of you who don't know, is a district of the city of Liverpool and is a founder member of the English Football League dating back to 1888, that century where everything gets invented, and also a founder member of the Premier League. In fact, they are the longest serving, altogether that is, since they have existed as a club, they are the longest serving top flight club in English football. So he sadly passed away at the age of 54, and almost more sad than that, not that you can out-trump that sort of sad news, was the news of a 26-year-old chap from Montenegro, a goalkeeper who plays for Millwall Football Club, who are based in London. 26 years of age, from Montenegro, who also passed away very suddenly. I've been scouring the internet to try and find out what the cause for his death was, but there are absolutely not even hints as to what the cause of his death was, only that it came as a massive surprise for all his loved ones and friends, that it came out of the blue, totally unexpected, after a very short illness, are the words that are used with him. I think his name was Matko Sakic, I think. But anyway, 26 years of age, goalkeeper for Millwall Football Club. Now there's two in the space of 24 hours. And of course, over the last couple of years, we have had lots and lots of incidents of footballers either keeling over and collapsing on the pitch, or indeed dying. A lot of the cases don't get announced in the big way because they play for lower league, lesser, in inverted commas, clubs, so not so high profile football clubs. But it is an issue, and I know this firsthand because, of course, I worked at a football club for many years. I don't anymore, called Bournemouth Football Club, or AFC Bournemouth, who are a top flight club here from Bournemouth, obviously. And so you do get that information when you're working and dealing with people on the inside. So I can categorically say that these cases have definitely increased. And when I say increased, I'll say that with a small I, because that would suggest it was happening in the first place quite a lot. No, it wasn't really. So increase is probably the wrong word to use. But yeah, these cases are suddenly happening a lot. And woe betide anybody who questions the reasoning for the deaths, because people then start pointing fingers at you, accusing you of being a conspiracy theorist just because you can count and add 2 and 2 together. So that's the unfortunate world we live in, that you're not allowed to even question these things without people giving you a funny look, or you get aggressive responses and such like, you know. So so that was something I wanted to bring you. Do look that up. Kevin Campbell and Matt Coe, I think his name was Sarko. Anyway, that all happened over the weekend. What else happened on the weekend, as I pan my camera around to a beautiful building that has just recently been restored. As you can see, half of it is underground. We had what they call here in the UK a Trooping the Colour parade, which is a parade that normally marks the birthday of the reigning monarch. So in this case it will be Charles III, who, as you know, is the King of England, or the King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and all its territories. And so what they do is they do a massive big parade in London, with the horse guards and all the rest of it, and it's all lots of pomp and ceremony, and of course tradition is forced down everybody's throats, and of course the historical narrative is hammered home, which is really the point I'm making with this. And what I found quite interesting, and just a couple of points I wanted to raise, again, it's something that I have seen and not followed but noticed for years and years and years, especially when I was younger, because I grew up in the military, so you couldn't get away from it. But what I've noticed is that the narrative in these parades have changed. And I noticed yesterday very clearly that the BBC that is, put great emphasis in reminding people that these parades have been going on for hundreds of years. It's almost like they know that there are people kind of catching on a little bit to the fact that a lot of what we're taught, I would suggest all of what we're taught in terms of historical narrative, is nothing but absolute bullcrap. And that, of course, it's just there to back our own national history books, and every country has their own tailor-made narratives to suit their nation. So if you go to Germany, they'll have their historical narratives, and you go to France, they'll have theirs, America will have theirs, Australia will have theirs, China will have theirs. But one thing all these nations do have in common are buildings like this that were knocked up in no time at all, and they're to be found worldwide, including China, by the way. But what they do is they take the domes off the top and stuff like that and make them look a little bit Asian, or whatever, what we perceive as being Asian, and then suddenly they're Chinese temples. But yeah, so that, I just thought that was very interesting, that the narrative of these parades now in London, they lay great emphasis in explaining to the public that this indeed is something that marks a tradition that goes back hundreds of years, i.e. the royal family, etc., which of course I question deeply. In fact, I would suggest, based on my research, that none of this, what we experience today, goes back further than the Victorian times. Certainly just about predates the what we call the Industrial Revolution, which for me is just a revelation of already existing technology, but that's another topic for another day. But I thought that was just quite interesting. And also another thing that was mentioned on this glamorous parade was the fact that they also mentioned that 1851 was the first time that on one of these parades the royal family stood on the balcony and waved to their minions stood down below on the mall. Now that is also quite interesting, because anybody who knows a little bit about their history in a true sense will also know that 1851 was the year of the first World's Fair, the so-called Crystal Palace World's Fair. Crystal Palace, of course, allegedly having been moved. You know, they put it on stilts and wheels and just wheeled it away from Hyde Park to Sydenham, where it then burned down in 1936, allegedly, because that's what steel does. Well, in actual fact, I would contest that there were two Crystal Palaces, and one of them just got destroyed there on the spot. And the other one, of course, at a later date also got destroyed by hand. Don't forget, these Crystal Palaces were 3 times the size of St. Paul's Cathedral, another unbelievable old world structure in the middle of the city of London. But I thought that was quite interesting, that coinciding with Queen Victoria and her family and them standing on the balcony for the first time on Buckingham Palace to wave to the public at the end of one of these parades, when they do the fly past with the red arrows and everything else, that we were told that's the first time they did it was 1851, and that was actually the year of the first World's Fair. Now, why is that important? Well, the reason why I believe that's important is because I believe that the World's Fairs were education centres where basically your leading figures of the different corners of Earth, as it were, went to gather the various narratives for the various regions of the world, and then went off to their various different areas of the world to then introduce that into the not yet existing school systems. Because don't forget, they didn't exist until the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s. Kids did not go to school in the beginning of the 1800s. Nobody was reading and writing or doing anything. That all didn't happen until the late 1800s, early 1900s. The school curriculum or anything like that. But of course, before you can introduce a curriculum, you have to get your ducks in a row in terms of historical narratives and back history and all the rest of it. And that is what I truly think was going on at the World's Fairs. They made use of the existing magnificent structures and then introduced these narratives to the top hat wearing boffins, and then sent them on their way to their various corners of the world to then parrot those narratives off to their respective, what would then become later, countries. So that's why I think that date is very, very significant. So it's quite amazing what you kind of click onto when you pay attention to some of this stuff that gets beamed through our TV sets. But yeah, there you go. That was just off the top of my head. I just thought I'd bring that to you because it was fresh in my mind, and I thought, yeah, that might be worth sharing. So that's what I've done. Now, the whole time I've been talking, I've been pointing my camera at this building here. I remember doing a video here a while back with Dave, Trinity 4, and this has been a building site for a long time, but they've kind of completed it now, although this road is sometimes closed. So you have Bournemouth Police Station just at the top of the road there, and you have these buildings here, the modern looking ones that are all part of the university campus, which is just around the corner. So this is, I think, what they call the Livingston Academy, which is basically just a secondary school, but they give it posh names nowadays to make it all sound more educational. But in between these two modern structures, there and there, you have this, and nothing of any great significance is housed in this building anymore, but it used to be, according to the plaque on the wall, part of the judiciary, and according to the plaque on this wall, this stone on the front was laid in 1912. Of course, I would most definitely question that. But there you have it. I thought I'd just bring you that. And as you can see here, if I point my camera like that, this road goes steep down to the right. And you can see by looking at the end of this building that goes deep down into the ground. Deep down into the ground. And that is the case with a lot of these old looking buildings here throughout Bournemouth. All of them, of course, red brick buildings, etc., etc. So anybody who doesn't know, brick factories didn't exist until 1885. Before that, it was literally just brick yards, of which there were only scattered around a few of them. You know, you would you would have to put in great efforts to mass produce bricks before brick factories were around. Never mind transport the stuff and dry it and form it and all the rest of it that would be required to get the stuff around the country to be able to knock up all these magnificent structures that were all built round about the same time, and not just in England but throughout the whole world, including North America, which was supposed to be a brand new country. But there you go. So I thought I would just bring that to you because I thought it was worth bringing to you. While I'm on the topic of things worth bringing to you, a quick announcement as well before I waffle on too much, and that is that there will be a Flat Earth Social coming up on the I need to get this right, I think it's the 25th of June. Anyway, it's the last Tuesday of every month, and it's at the Bridge Hotel in Ferndown, just on the fringes of Bournemouth. Dave Weiss will be gracing us with his presence to give a talk. He is in town. I do believe that weekend there's also a bit of a festival going on as well, a 3 or 4 day festival. There are some PR stuff. There is some PR stuff knocking about online, talking about that as well. But I'm more interested in the Flat Earth Social that is the last Tuesday of every month. So be there or be exceedingly spherical. I shall be attending if I can, of course. I didn't attend the last one because I couldn't get a lift, believe it or not. But I will be attending this one, come what may. Yeah, so there you go. Apart from that, nothing else to write home about. As I said at the beginning of the video, I just wanted to bring those thoughts to you, and basically not show my face, but yeah, show myself in that sense, if you know what I mean. Like I said, I hope you all had a lovely weekend. I hope you get into the week nicely and calmly and serenely, and I will put another video out at some point soon when I will be, as I've already promised, be looking more into old world structures and such like, because there are so many of them around. You know, it's like what we say, isn't it? Once you see them, you can't unsee them, basically. And I don't know about anybody else who's interested in this topic, but I certainly, honestly, can't stop thinking about them. When I go out, I automatically look at them and yeah, start thinking about what could be behind all of this, because certainly the official narrative is way off the mark. Anyway, so on that note, thank you very much for listening in, either, you know, soon or at a later date. And like I say, I'll be with you again with another video in the next few days, weather permitting, of course. So until then, I'll see you all soon. Some of you much sooner. Until then, take it easy and ta-ta for now.